Time now for a look at your health. It's summer, as you know, which means plenty of fun in the sun, and why some people are content to kick back and get a tan. A lot of us like to go hit the water, whether it's the ocean or of course, the backyard pool. But there's ways to stay safe in doing that. So we're going to check in with the Dr. G, as we always do, Dr. Mitchell Goldman from UCSD, with some tips. Now, you told me something during the break that astonished me, that the leading cause of death in boys is drowning.
It really is, and that's between 5 and 14. You know, boys are more likely to get into trouble. When I was a young boy, I almost drowned by being in a rip current, and especially when we go to our beaches, you have to pay particular attention not to swim where the lifeguards tell you not to swim, which I, of course, did. And so if you swim into a rip current, the most important thing is don't try to go against the rip current, go with the rip current, and that'll get you back to shore. Some
general, I guess, guidelines when it comes to boating and jet skiing and swimming and surfing that you suggest for people who are going to be on the water?
A lot of it is just common sense. Don't overestimate your ability to be a phenomenal swimmer. If you're going to go out on jet skis and boats, do not drink and drive, because that's the #1 time that we are mentally impaired and we're going to get into trouble. When you are jet skiing, try to jet ski with another person, with a friend, so that if you get kicked off and knocked unconscious, your friend can help rescue you. And it's the same thing with swimming. Don't swim alone. Don't swim without lifeguards.
It's a buddy system, and like you said, even if you're throwing a summer swim party, it's worth the investment to pay and hire a lifeguard, because we often get engaged in our parties and a child can slip underwater and no one notices.
It really happens so quickly. I was at a party with Dan and Susan over the July 4th weekend, and they had a lifeguard there. Even though the adults weren't getting totally drunk, still, you just have a few minutes of time. We all know that a child, after 4 minutes being underwater, the chances of rehabilitating them and saving them is very slim. So you've got to get the kids and adults very quickly.
So give me the 411 on 911. If somebody drowns, obviously you call 911, but what should you do initially?
The most important thing is rescue breaths, because breathing is so important. By just giving 1 or 2 rescue breaths, that's mouth to mouth, to either a child or an adult, you're going to get them to start breathing pretty readily. But of course, if the breathing doesn't work after 1 or 2 breaths, then feel for a pulse, start chest compressions, that's the CPR. But most important thing, call 911. And you know, when there's a lifeguard present, kids almost never drown. Lifeguards have an over 96% rate of saving children and adults without ever having to take them to the hospital.
And certainly we have some of the best in the country patrolling our beaches. What are some of the biggest risk factors in your view when it comes to drowning?
The biggest risk factor is not paying attention. So in pool drowning, it's not noticing where your child is, not having a fence around the pool or other ways to prevent children from falling in the pool. And of course, the most important risk factor for adults is drinking and swimming in unsupervised beaches, especially alone. And that's whether you're scuba diving, water skiing, or surfing or swimming.
All right, some great advice and reminders. Thank you so much, Dr. G. Make it a happy summer for us all. Let's turn it back over to Lauren.